the role of, to be part of ALG today to speak on the role of technology, in national development. Okay. I know you've done a lot of work in the technology space and so on. So you can just kick off by telling us where we are in terms of technology in Nigeria and where we really should be, and the various things that we can do with technology at this time. I hope everyone can hear me. Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you loud and clear, sir.
Okay, so please go ahead. The floor is yours, Stephen.
Thank you, sir. So first, I want to thank you very much for the privilege and honor to be on this platform, sir. Thank you very much. It's not taken lightly, sir. Basically, most individuals or entities you see when they hear about technology, what they often think is it has to do with something you interact with computers. And technology has gone beyond handheld or human interaction with machines. It's gone beyond what you use on the mobile phone or in a PC or on some server somewhere. We've had technology completely innovating our life, from agriculture now, where we have precision farming, genetic modified farming. We've had the evolution of fintech with DeFi and blockchain technology. So we don't longer see technology like something you have to do with a computer. But the idea of what should I be doing in this fast moving or this fast paced evolution of technology, I've always ranked the kind of people that interact with technology in different levels. There are those that want to be professionals in technology. You are set out to be to build a career like which some of us have done for several years. Your intention is to take technology computing as a career and as a journey. There are some other people who see technology as a money-making machine. They are just entrepreneurs. They just find, what can I do that will give me money in technology? People like that, they really don't specialize in anything. They just want to know everything and be able to use it to make money. So we have those that really want to build a career. We have those that want to be entrepreneurs. Now we have those that just want to interact with technology for their day-to-day operations, whether in their offices, in their home, and around them. And the last category of people are people that we call them the technophobia, the technophobic individuals. The technophobic individuals. They don't want to interact with technology. They are the type, when they have an SMS on their phone, they'll say, oh, please, can you let me check the phone? Who is calling me? They rather pass that message to the next person. So these are the 4 levels. Now, I'm just going to walk you through the entire levels, but it would be nice if questions come in so I can take them in between the conversation, because I could get carried away and not be able to connect the dots. You see, for you that consider technology as a career journey, you see, it is never too late. As a matter of fact, those of us that have spent 20 years doing computing, we feel cheated. We feel very, very, very cheated, because most of us, we've invested 20 years of our careers learning to build a career journey. If you sit down with ChatGPT for 1 year, you will learn everything. And you will basically become a pseudo expert like we have become in years. Now, if you choose to build a career in technology, you need to be certified. It is important that you are certified. Now, the peak of this part where I'm talking about you building a career in technology, certification is essential because the industry needs to recognize you. And aside you being certified in whatever specialty you choose, you need to join professional bodies. You need to join the right professional bodies if you are going to build a career journey as a professional, because you need to be mentored in the industry. There are senior colleagues that would guide you. Now, for those that want to just make money from technology, I don't know if the admin can help me. I'm getting a lot of notifications on my screen. People wanting to join the meeting. Maybe you should remove me. Maybe you should. I don't want to be. I don't know if you can help me, please.
Ignore them. Ignore those notifications and just keep going on. But what I want you to focus on, yes, just ignore them. I know the background to the various levels of technology expertise is good, but what I want you to also really focus on for us is where Nigeria is in terms of technology development and what we need to do to use technology as a basis for national development. Then I have one or two other critical questions for you before I hand over to Pastor Sonny and also Jumoke to take you through the question and answer. So ignore those notifications and just continue. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So I was just going to quickly wrap up the hierarchies of technology journey, because for you to be able to tap into the digital economy we are currently that is being built in Nigeria, you need to know what is your entry point. And your entry point is being able to know where do you want to start from. Do you just want to use technology, tap into the ecosystem? You see, national growth in a country like Nigeria is pervading because we have a journey from digitization to digitalization and to digital transformation. If you look at the journey we went through in the past administration, where we tried to convert our manual processes into digital processes, and we've moved into an era where we're trying to transform the nation with artificial intelligence. The journey so far has not been bad. And I'm not speaking for the government. I'm not advocating. But the journey ahead of us is way too much compared to where we are as a nation. Unless everybody gets on board this technological journey, if we all don't get inclusive in terms of what role am I playing technologically in this digital ecosystem? I'm going to give you an instance. There was an initiative that was implemented by the current administration. It's the 3MTT program, where they try to create 3 million technical talents. Now, that's the importance I'm telling you, anyone to know, that if you really want to get the fruit from any digital ecosystem to build a government or to build an economy in a digital system of a national body, everybody needs to be involved. We've always advocated that the government policy, maybe what the government will need to do, pursue their policy making, what they give back to the community. I always don't believe so. I've always believed if you don't join the train, technology is beyond what your nation can even call. It's something that goes beyond the geographical territory of any country. The way technology impacts a nation is through the interconnectivity it gives to other nations and the opportunities outside your country. And all we can achieve as a country in terms of framework from government is platformization. If we are well platformized and we have infrastructure like the 5G that have been celebrated by the past administration, the next thing for anyone to do is to find the right entry point. It is important that if technology is going to transform a nation, everyone needs to know how to use it. Let me give a typical example. I remember when the 5G network came on board and everybody started screaming the impact we are going to have, the level of development and transformation we are going to experience as a nation. We advocated that if people don't jump on board and understand the value that is being created on a national level and find their entry point, whether you want to come in as an expert and build a career in tech, or you just want to transform your local economy as an entrepreneur in tech, or you just want to go on a simple journey and be able to use tech for your day-to-day activity. If there is no connectivity between the usage and the infrastructure being created, it will be emptiness upon emptiness, and we're not going to get anywhere. I don't know if the moderators have any question for me now.
Okay, very good. In terms of other nations and in terms of the technological space, how do you rate Nigeria? Would you say we're technologically advanced, we're digitally transformed, or are there gaps? And what is the level of national technology literacy that we have in Nigeria? And then the third question is, what do we now do to reactivate or activate it and get it to a level where everybody's able to interact technologically? So I don't know if you can answer them.
Yes. In Nigeria as a country, we have a very low digital literacy level. The digital literacy level we have as a country does not match the noise and the level of infrastructure we have promoted so far. We are not on the same level Western-wise, and I'm going to explain it, sir. We are a techno-dependent nation. We are the kind of nation where everything we use technologically is actually imported. As a matter of fact, people always assume that we stand a chance of being running the same race they are running in the Western part of the world. No, we don't stand the chance, because even those that operate this technology, we know every tools and services that we deploy are mostly the imported assets. However, to fix this kind of infrastructure as a country, we need a resilient ecosystem where we can match our technological gaps with the opportunities available overseas. You see, we are a nation that can benefit immensely from platformization. And the problem we've had so far is the very fact that we've always used technology to score medals, where we want to say, I'm the one that brought 5G, I'm the one that implemented AI, I'm the one that streamed digital transformation. What we need to do as a nation is institutionalize our technological journey so that we can have an ecosystem that is pervasive from the institution, and I mean the educational framework. Because where we are now, if our children don't start to learn how to build advanced technologies from their educational curriculum, I can speak to you with certainty, sir. A 10 to 12 years old in China can already reload an operating system. And these are skills over here that we reserve for graduates. A 10 to 12 years old in China can do that. And it's not rocket science. We've interacted with young Nigerians. If we can empower them institutionally, from the primary education, from the basic education, to the secondary education, into the tertiary education, people can have a skill set to be able to understand technology as a basic running blocks of life. It will go a long way to transform us. I don't know if I've dealt into that, sir.
Yeah, you've done quite well. what you have said. I don't know if you can put some financial figures to what we are failing as a nation because we have not really driven this technology thing, and what you would do if you were president of Nigeria. Let's assume that you are Bola Ahmed Tinubu now. Even your cap you are wearing is telling me that that is possible. If only if you could put some design on the cap, then we'll say, yeah, sure. So if you were Bola Ahmed Tinubu now, for example, and you really wanted us to get the best out of technology in Nigeria, what would you do in terms of policy? What would you do instead of building institutions? What would you do in terms of proclamations and encouraging and private sector to help us drive this technology? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to put some numbers in perspective, and my numbers will come from the artificial intelligence journey. You see, there has been, I think McKinsey have also released reports that the artificial intelligence ecosystem will be worth over $3 trillion by 2028. Now, if I were a leader in this organization, in this country, yes, we are all leaders in our capacities in our workplace. We have an opportunity to influence policies. First, human capacity development will be my priority. Human capacity development. Because I am of the opinion that Nigerians are very smart people, but there is this knowledge gap in terms of being able to connect opportunities with the needs of the individual. And with the way technology is going, particularly with the evolution of artificial intelligence and its power to digitally transform industries, I will overhaul the primary education system, and I will build standard computer laboratories in our primary education system. You see, I was once challenged that why can't our professors do this research and introduce advanced curriculum in artificial intelligence? And I asked the question, have you ever been to the computer laboratories in most of these institutions? The state of these laboratories are appalling. I feel we can overhaul our educational system by first starting by the basic education. Let the young ones have the capacity to have logical reasoning, which is what computation does to someone when you go into computing and programming. Let people know that innovation is what will fix the world and shape the future. Let a typical person graduating from a Nigerian institution know, I am not graduating to go and tender a certificate. I am graduating with a skill set. Take, for example, look at India. India is a population where there are thousands of programmers that have been overhauled, and there have been, and foreign organizations like Cisco, HP, Intel, Microsoft are moving that development HQ to India. Why can't we have that in Nigeria? Why can't we have an institutional system where there is knowledge, institutional system driven by knowledge and not by certificate? Why can't our students graduate and know foundationally, I have all the skill set I can use to compete with the Western world? Basically, I believe the gaps we have as a nation is not properly institutionalizing knowledge. And I feel it's one of the reasons why we've been exploited, because a typical Nigeria is not even knowledgeable enough to know its own rights and be able to fight for its daily bread, talk less of being able to make a living in a knowledge-driven economy. We need to move in Nigeria from this kind of certificate-driven economy to a knowledge-driven economy where everybody is empowered institutionally. We need leaders that want to transform the economy, not for 4 years experience, but for something that will outlive them. And we cannot achieve this if knowledge is not institutionalized in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Now, what about our electioning process? what's the role of technology in making sure that we can have a fair and equitable electioneering process and you can have a transparent INEC? And what should the citizens be demanding for in terms of using technology for democracy? And then also, if we're able to institute the reforms that you are thinking about, what the reforms are exactly, what sort of revenue do you think Nigeria will be able to generate over time or in the next year or two to help us? Can you speak to that very briefly? And after that, Sonny Jumoke, you can take over, please.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear the concluding part of that question, sir.
I was saying the first part of the question is, how can we use technology properly? I know you have IREV, BVAS, all this. So what really would you do to make sure that we can harness technology to help our democracy, our political process, to ensure that you have credible elections, that the people actually vote and the votes are counted? That's number one. The reforms that we need to do in terms of technology for economic development, what do we do precisely, and how much do you think can come into our national income if we're technology?
All right. So thank you very much. So I will start with the electoral processes. You see, I've had the privilege of answering these questions in the past, and I've also given my own little bit of advice. You see, INEC needs to use AI correctly. Yes, we've heard how the power of BVAS and they sell technology. That technology is an almighty solution provider. I've also recommend we need an INEC chatbot in Nigeria, and I will get there. It's an AI chat tool. We need an INEC chatbot in Nigeria. And what can an INEC chatbot do for us? This is an interactive system where I can chat with a chatbot that represents INEC. For example, let's take instances of what this kind of chatbot can fix for us as a nation. Let's take voter apathy, for example. Let's say there is a delay in logistics and people need to get to their polling unit and INEC needs to communicate with people. Nigerians can chat and interact with this chat system, and they can have foresight into what is going on and be able to predict the time of arrival. Another example are the logistical challenges that INEC claim they have. I believe Nigerians need insight into what is going on with INEC. INEC has operated too much in a closed loop. It is whatever they tell us that we get to believe. If they tell us today that they are using AI, we have to believe it. If they tell us today that BVAS is what did this, we have to believe it. A transparent ecosystem in a technology implementation that interacts with the public requires insight. The users need to see transparency, accountability, and explainability. Anything you implement with technology, if it's not transparent, if it's not accountable or explainable, it will as well be another garbage in, garbage out. You see, I am of the opinion that if we can set up an infrastructural learning platform that can track the value chain system that we have in Nigeria, what I said is an infrastructural learning platform that can track the value chain ecosystem that we have in Nigeria, we can triple our revenue by 2028. The way we are in this country, the figures we are currently doing are not bad. But if we follow the AI trend and we embrace what the international ecosystem is doing, that is empowering their citizens with knowledge so they can lead the future, that is exactly what we have.
Thank you very much. Let me hand over to Sonny, and then he'll take you through a few questions. And then there are a few people asking questions on the platform. We'll take those questions and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much, Seun.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Stephen. My name is Sonny Enebi. Thank you for the way you have elucidated these issues. And when I hear you, I hear all the things that are possible, and you don't seem to think that in Nigeria we are getting it or we are yet there, So the topic really is the role of technology in national development and whether Nigeria has made significant progress in that area or not. I think is something that we're yet to see. So I want to find out from you, for example, if we are looking at national development, even just starting with the very basics, our civil service system, are we using technology to either communicate or pass information? I hear you talking of INEC using a chat box. So you come down to the civil service, all right? How do they even communicate in the civil service? Do we have the .com? I know that Nigeria has this whatever, Nigeria cyberspace, instead of using .com. Some security agencies were known to have used public domain email some time ago to even convey their mails. So let's granulate it and say what is possible. Are we doing it? If we are not doing it, how can we get into it? So that's putting it at two levels, at the governmental level, and then we will then go to how do we introduce it in school? And it cuts across so many areas, whether it is our payment system, revenue collection for taxes, traffic control, security management, all these things. What is possible? If we are not getting it, why? What can be done to get it?
Okay, so thank you for the context.
Yes.
You see, first thing we need to understand is for any technology adoption,
yes,
because I've always seen people expect technology to do the almighty solution.
Yeah.
See, there are levels of entry. The first question is, where are we as a nation in terms of our technological journey? Where are we? Because any technology implementation, you need to look at the technology maturity index. It's called the technology maturity index, where you look at the organization and you say, are we at the transformation level or we are at the monitoring or optimization level? The level goes from you monitor your system if you are adopting technology correctly. I feel one of the challenges we are having as a nation now is resistance to change, because I have been privileged to see technology being adopted in the civil service. As a matter of fact, I have seen technology tools being introduced to the civil service, and these tools were commissioned, they were implemented, but the users were not adopting. So the idea is to the journey, where were they before they automatically went to build or implement advanced technology systems? I'm not trying to speak for the civil service, but as a matter of fact, I have seen implementation across civil service that became a failure, not because it was not implemented, but because the users were resistant to change. And one of the challenges we have always advised is, before you adopt technology for any ecosystem, you need to ask yourself, where are you? As a matter of fact, if all you do with technology is just training, just organizing training for your employees or for the civil service, transforming them digitally in terms of knowledge, that is sufficient. Because what people want to see, they compare our ecosystem with the advanced ecosystem of the world. An ecosystem where a typical person is already familiar with basic technology. So I feel the civil service infrastructure we have, they need to start with some form of a learning management framework. We need a learning management framework that let them know it can no longer be paper as usual. They need a learning management framework that let them know we need to have a standard tool for communication. We need to know we don't just send files via WhatsApp or via Telegram. We need to have a standard framework. As a matter of fact, if you go to some of our civil services, they still communicate with Gmail and Yahoo Mail in this age and time. If you go to, as a matter of fact, there are some institutions you want to interact with in government, you cannot find an official email that is reliable. Now, all these things is not because they've not adopted technology, because I can say for a certainty that they've used this technology to an extent, but the resistance to change from the people that is adopting and interacting with technology is the problem. A standard learning management framework that can overhaul the architecture of learning and innovation in our civil service will solve that problem.
Thank you. So what should be done if the people are not adopting, even though they are introducing it, and they spend a lot of money to introduce this technological thing? What do you think the government or people introducing these things should do to get compliance?
Yeah. So you see, I'm happy you've asked this question. And this question, the answer I'm giving is not an answer I made up. It's an industry certified answer, because resistance to change is a standard reaction we see in every technological implementation. And there are methodical way of onboarding people onto technology. First, people need to see value. And people cannot know value unless it is communicated. Nigerian civil service or any agency of government that want to adopt technology should not start by first awarding a contract. They need to first start by fixing the mindset of the people. The first step in technology adoption is overhaul the mindset of the people through a standard learning management system. Let the people go for training. Let people start appreciating the power of technology. Once you can build some form of learning management system that equips the civil service with knowledge of what this technology can do to them, that is when you start to award contract. We don't want to award contracts first, set up the technology, and people don't want to interact. Secondly, after people have seen value, what you are implementing must align with what people are familiar with. As you already know, technology is a versatile asset. Technology as it is very broad. You could do A, B, C in technology in 10 different ways and still achieve the same result. You need to know what are the values that these people are familiar with. I can be sincere with you. There are some technology implementation you want to do in government that you do with USSD, because these people don't use smartphones. Then you go for USSD implementation instead of going for Android and iOS. So basically, a value-driven approach to digital transformation is the basis of any technological overhaul. Because when people can see value and they can have expectation of what this technology will do for them, they will embrace it. And this is not me making this up, it's the standard globally. Anywhere you're doing technology, before you award the contract, the first thing is fix the mindset of the people.
Okay, thank you very much. You know, I hear you when you say fix the mindset of the people, but some people will argue with you that Nigerians, their mindset fix, it's a long haul. And I give you an example. Some years ago, I think during the Obasanjo regime, technology was introduced into the custom clearing system. They got scanners. You know, these huge scanners where custom officers don't have to do manual checking. A scanner can easily scan and dictate whatever is in the container. And, you know, it saves time, so there's value. It makes the work easier. It makes it more transparent. It makes it more open. So when you talk of they should see value and something they are familiar with, I hear you. But this thing was introduced and these guys sabotaged the scanner. They destroyed it, essentially. And 20 years down the line, that scanner is story. Nobody's even talking about it anymore. I mean, that was something that was supposed to, I mean, when they did their reforms in the port, when Okonjo-Iweala. So if we want to really solve this problem, we cannot be speaking academic English. We have to look at practical solution that can deliver Nigerian's situation. And if I come to security, it's another ball game also. So I'm just using this. So when you say mindset change, help us unpack it. How exactly do we go about this?
Okay, see, I want to come granularly now.
Please.
And I'm very happy from the angle you've seen it. Yeah. You see, I'm going to use the example you gave of the scanner. And I'm going to give you another example that I've experienced. I have personally implemented a technology solution for a government in this country, and they did not use it. They paid they got it for political showmanship. Now, the truth is, the people that we're going to use the scanner, the question we should ask ourselves, because I'm not privy to this implementation. When you have a bad maintenance culture with technology implementation, it will always end up in a jamboree. Now, my theory is very simple. If you want to implement technology, for example, customs want to bring in a scanner to scan consignments. Yeah. And they want to be able to, they want their team to be able to deploy and use these tools. It is basic that these guys need to have the equipment, the capacity. Most of these contracts, from experience we have seen, they are jamboree contracts. They are not designed to last. There's a journey for technological adoption. There's requirement engineering, implementation, and post-implementation support. The question I ask when I see a contract being awarded in this country, you've done the requirement engineering, you've awarded the contract. What is the post-implementation plan? So the example you've given and how the technology eventually became a failure might not completely be blamed on governance. It might be blamed on the people that were involved in that implementation. And also, I am of the opinion that if you are setting up any technology architecture, for example, look at the journey INEC have gone through, that how far they've come. You have in the past, when we have the manual processes, then we have the introduction of IREF, BVAS, and now they said they're not using AI. The question we have is, we need to communicate the post-implementation plan that were put in place for all these structures so that we can guarantee that we are not just trying to set up a technology that will work once and fail twice. You see, I am not the type that wants to speak for government, but I'm of the opinion that we should not leave innovation and digital transformation to leadership. As a matter of fact, I have once been challenged that why am a Nigerian youth not going into politics? And I have been of the opinion that the power of technology in places like the United States did not happen by people that were in government. If you look at Mark Zuckerberg, look at Bill Gates, these people transform using technology without being in government. What can we do as a civil society, and not just what the government as a framework can do for us? I don't know if I've been able to chip that in.
Okay. So you are saying it's not government fault, it's the fault of the people who were implementing. Okay, let's leave that, because if we get technology and really want to use it, the way our people going, part of the argument is that Nigerians will not like technology because it's going to stop them from practicing what they are used to practicing. And if you're
are you talking about the job losses?
No, job losses apart. It's just okay. It will curb corruption and cut down. Take the example of INEC, for example. The chairman was telling us before the 2023 election that, IREF, everybody thought that BVAS was going to be the solution, and they were going to be uploading result and everything. All right. And so everybody had confidence that once we knew the result from the polling booths up to the top level, but if the very people who are charged with operating this system are the ones sabotaging it, then we are just not ready. So part of the question is, it's not a question of job loss, but people just feel that some people think that they will lose income and revenue personally that they are gaining if technology is adopted in many of these areas. I give you another example. Railway was relaunched and whatever they did. You want to enter train from Lagos to Ibadan. In today's world, who should be buying ticket manually? You can't even, they say they have a whatever to sell their tickets, and you can't even get the ticket to buy. People go there, scam the ticket, and then you go to the railway station, you are trying to, and then they catch some people, no example is made. I see so many technology being tried to introduce. And in today's world, I have not even come to agriculture and all those things yet. We will deal with that. I want to really ask you, do you think a government that is serious to implement technology, okay, should not take some very drastic action against those that sabotage the equipment they have put in place?
I completely agree with you to the affirmative. You see, I'm of the opinion that if you notice what I've been trying to pass across, the pattern we have in this country is they award the contracts before planning. They award the technical contract before planning. If people are not held accountable, someone needs to be held accountable, not just for the implementation of a technology solution, but for the post-implementation support. Because the challenge we've always had as a country is we are quick to award technology contracts because someone wants to score a medal. But after it is awarded, we are stuck where we have no maintenance culture. There has been so many implementation of technology in this country. But the problem we've often had is after it is implemented and is used once or twice, what are the supporting machineries that make it evolve? Now, this is where I agree with you completely. Leaders and people in position of authority needs to be held accountable. There has to be proper accountability for any form of technology implementation in this country. Because if we are going to develop as a nation, and if technology is going to work for us, it's not just talking and brandishing advanced technology. We need to know that we are getting results. I am of the opinion that when you implement the technology infrastructure and results does not follow, that is a wasted effort. So we need to have a structure in place where we can have a checkpoint, a check and balance system, where we have some form of commission that can regulate technology implementation in this country. Because I would want to point fingers. One of the biggest vault of corruption in this country is technology, because they use it to sabotage and enrich themselves. So that's what they use it for. And I'm not going to point fingers, but I'm speaking the truth that if we don't have a system of check and balance in place, when you invest in the technological investment, there are infrastructure in place that makes you accountable, make what we can measure your result. For example, INEC, the impact of IREV and BVAS, we will not deny it. I know Nigerians have different opinions about how this technology has impacted our election. I have my personal opinion. I am of the opinion that INEC has become a bit more efficient. If you look at the INEC of the past and the INEC of the recent past, the recent, the efficiency to an extent have improved. And that's my personal opinion. Someone else might have their own opinion. The truth is, technology needs to be measurable. We need to be able to measure the impact of these technology systems we are implementing.
All right. Thank you very much. Before I open it up to the question and answer session, okay, I just have two more areas to clarify. the man in the Afro-Exim Bank. What's his name again? He was Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria, and
Additional.
There was that.
Is that AFDP?
Yes, there was that thing that Additional did in Nigeria.
African Development Bank.
African Development Bank. He's the MD or CEO or whatever there. You know, he was in the Obasanjo or Jonathan government, and he was praised seriously. That farmer, whatever, they are able to do this and that. And, you know, in fact, I think that's what almost got him that job in the African Development Bank. Where are we? Why is it that we start something and we can't finish? That's question number one. Question number two is, today in Nigeria.
Pardon me.
Yes.
Pardon me. When you say start and not finish, please shed more insight. I want to understand what you mean by start and not finish.
But do you remember what he did when he was Minister of Agriculture? That farmer, whatever, that farmers are able to identify. There was something he introduced that was world acclaimed and everybody praised it. Okay. You can't remember it. Okay, all right.
I can't remember myself.
You can't remember. He did something that was world acclaimed. They said it was so beautiful and all of that. So that was what gave him, that was what launched him into what he became. Eventually, when he was angling for that job and he was able to get it. All right. But that is where we are in Nigeria. A follow-up to that question is the current Minister for Interior is trying to do a lot of digitalization in the passport issuance system, in our airport system, and all of that. We are praying and hoping, like you said, post-implementation follow-up. What will happen if he leaves there tomorrow? All right? What will happen? How do we set guardrails around what has been done such that if the person that pushed that change is no longer in office, what will you recommend that will be guardrails that can be put in place to ensure that that thing that is working well does not fall apart? Then I want you to take that question with the issue of being able to identify ourselves in Nigeria. I find it absurd in 2024. We don't really know who a Nigerian is. We are still struggling with that. You go to all other developed countries, they have a single ID card. Either you have your whatever. In America, they have their identification system. In the UK, if they enter that thing, it brings out all your details. Today in Nigeria, we have NIM, we have, what's the other one, that the BVN, we have, you know, driver's license, we have different things. How do we unify it? You are a technology man. How can we number every Nigerian with a simple, single, identifiable number? Anywhere you go, they must ask for that number before they attend to you. How do we do that? So 2 questions, and I let others have a shot.
All right, so I'm going to be very, very strategic with the way I answer the first question, particularly because we've actually discussed that matter extensively. You've given an example of the amazing job being done by the Minister of Interior. You see, technology, like I've said, is beyond implementation. Post-implementation support or post-deployment support is key. And I want to believe that this ministry should know that it's not a 4 years affair. We've always advocated that when you are implementing anything in government, don't make it be about your tenure or serving your master for 4 years. And put frameworks in place that can outlive you and outlive your master. That's the characteristics of a real leader. And like we've said, the ability to support anything that's been implemented is what determines how it will outlive it. And this can be done with basic frameworks. You see, the problem we often have in our government system is when we implement solution, we leave it to the vendor, meaning you don't build internal capacity. Let me give you an example. let's go back to the custom scanning system example you gave. If after implementation, we've been able to train the officials on how to maintain these tools, or let's look at the example of the technology being implemented by the Ministry of Interior. If local capacity is built after the implementation, we can have our own local support team and not depend on some external vendor or some expatriate vendor who we have to be committed to every time we need a support. So capacity is the key. However, to your second question, I think you were trying to talk about. So come again with the second question, Philip, please.
How do we identify Nigerians?
So you see, there is a dislocation in our identity system in Nigeria, and it's a foundational problem we've had, and some of us have advocated for a long time. It is not appropriate to have our data collected in multiple silos, where I have my biometrics on my BVN, I have my biometrics on my NIN, I have my SIM registration biometrics. It is not normal. The problem we've had so far is the foundational planning. Nigerians need to have a unified database where I don't have to communicate with different agencies with different identity. As a matter of fact, we could achieve this with our national identity number, where we can integrate all the databases. Because what we currently have is a disorganized data system where I am identified by a different ecosystem differently. In order to be able to fix this problem, we need a unified database system where the whole of Nigeria can have a unified number. And we can all agree that with a single number, we can query every other ecosystem where our detail has been collected. The problem we've had so far is the foundational planning that has gone into this identity framework we've had as a country. We've had a somewhat bad foundation for it because we've not planned our identity architecture centrally. We've been collecting in different silos, but to be able to fix it, we need tools such as the Hadoop infrastructure, where we can use data science techniques to connect all our data silos into a single unified number, where when it's queried at a single junction, it can query any of the database in any of the ecosystem. So we don't have to be dependent on BVN for banking or dependent on a number for SIM-reg, so we can unify in the unified database system. I don't believe I'll be able to answer that question, please.
All right, thank you very much. You've done extensively well. I understand there are a lot of questions in the chat box, and we'll open it up for people to also ask you some questions on how this goes. But thank you so far. Jumoke, one of my co-hosts, will also take that segment. So Jumoke can take over.
Good evening, Mr. Adetutu. Thank you for joining us this evening and for the very insightful conversation we've had thus far. So there are a few questions here. And following up on what Pastor Sonny has also asked you, someone wants to know how we can use technology to improve agriculture practice in Nigeria. And following that is a two-part question. Can technology be used to solve the farmers' herders' clash?
So I will take it one after the other. You see, the agricultural ecosystem is what we call the agri-tech ecosystem. And you can use technology to fix the supply chain dislocation. Because if you look at what people like Elo Tractor and other innovators are doing in the ecosystem, you can build a single supply chain management system that connects you with the supply requirements of your ecosystem. Now, there has been innovation in this environment where whatever you need to implement a full-scale agricultural practice, you don't need to start making phone calls. You can go to a single mobile application and get everything you need for your ecosystem in one place. That means you can digitize the agricultural supply chain of the agricultural practice. Also, precision farming is the future of agri-tech, where you have micro sensors that can be planted in your farm. And these sensors are relatively cheap. But at times, when you hear micro sensors, think they're very expensive. They cost $2, $3, $4. You can plant these sensors on a farm network and get real-time insight into the climatic structure of your agricultural practice. So I've given 2 examples: digitizing the agricultural value chain using a smart application or using precision farming to plan the agricultural ecosystem. Now, for the others farmers class, you see, there are some things you cannot leave only to technology, because technology has its own limits. We need a lot to be done into understanding the roots of these clashes, because we could have technologies like remote control sensors, drone monitoring systems. We could have technology infrastructure for our security framework, but without fixing the foundation problem in terms of what is going on in the economy, in terms of what is the root of this other farmers class. I am one of those that believe that we can't recommend technology as an almighty solution fixer for that problem. That problem has roots. That problem is tied to the economic dynamics of that terrain. That problem has foundational things that need to be investigated. And I don't believe technology can fix that alone. Hello.
Sorry, I can hear you. I was trying to unmute myself. Thank you very much. So there's also the question you talked about. Yeah, technology cannot fix that kind of issue because it has foundational, there are foundational or root cause to it. But there's also the use of drones and security cameras and technology in other parts of the world have helped solve those kind of problems. So can you speak a little bit about how we can also use technology to enhance security across the nation?
Okay, you see, it would be ideal for us to brandish technology like we have it at our beck and call. Having drone networks, having remote sensors, having remote monitoring systems are good to have. But the question we should ask ourselves is, are our security men equipped to handle such gadgets? Do we have a training infrastructure for them? Because we've been screaming drones for a long time as an option in Nigeria. We've been screaming remote capture cameras. But the question is, if we implement these solutions, do we have men in our architecture that can carry these things to the field and implement them? Because it's one thing to be able to contract drones, remote cameras in the public space of our security architecture, it's another to be able to use them. I'm speaking for someone who has worked in this space, and I'm assuring you, there are some implementation you can recommend for our technology system, which you are very correct. We have drone system, we have remote camera capture, we have body sensors, we have remote monitoring systems. As a matter of fact, we even have AI optimal stopping system where you can optimally notify forces for prompt action. But the problem is our people don't really know how to use this technology. And we need to fix that foundationally from the training of our forcemen.
Thank you. Very good point. So one question, and then I'll see if there's anyone that has their hand up to ask you some questions. So this is a comment from the chat. In the 2015 election, INEC's website was hacked. Moving forward, what measure can be implemented to secure election technology against cyber threats? Did you get that, sir? Mr. Adetutu. Okay. Did you get my question, Mr. Adetutu, that I read from the chat?
I didn't get your question. Just come again, please.
Okay. So this was a comment. In the 2015 election, INEC's website was hacked. Moving forward, what measure can be implemented to secure election technologies against cyber threats?
All right, so I'm just going to give you what I call the ORAP's top 10 standard. You see, when you implement any technology, most of the security implementation, we don't make it up. The industry have designed standard methodologies that should be used to secure any platform. For example,
sorry, I think there's some
please give us a minute.
Challenge. Yeah, it will soon be back.
Interesting. We are talking about technology and it's showing itself off.
But I think we can continue the discussion before the speaker comes back.
Yeah, he does bring up a very good point about the implementation of it, because it's like having an equipment. If you don't know how to operate it, then you're not going to be able to get the maximum benefit from it. So that's another challenge, is for us to users education, and even the citizens, all of us as a nation, we need to be more versed on this technology, and it has to start from elementary school. Mr.
You're absolutely right. Sorry, before you call the people that are raising their hands, Mr. Adeniyi Samson on the chat box, he said, can the political and tribal differences allowed hide the system unification? You see, this ID unification system has been a major challenge, and that's the reason why all these Boko Haram kidnappers, others invaders have not been apprehended, because the people in charge are deliberately undermining this system so that these people can go scot-free. You know, a lot of money has been paid for kidnappers. And the easiest way to track kidnappers is to follow the money. They pay money into their account and you don't hear anything about tracking them. But if the same police or the EFCC or the security people want to track Yahoo boys, they know how to track them from all over the world. But to track kidnappers who you have paid ransom to their account is very difficult for them, because some people are trying to shield them away because of religion, because of ethnicity, and because of some primordial sympathies that they have towards them. So until we begin to see Nigeria, or until we begin to put Nigeria first in everything that we do in this country, we will still have a very long way to go in curbing our security challenges. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, and following up on that, Pastor Lou, I think I see one hand up. Is even the SIM, because we all register for this SIM card for our phones, and the kidnappers use those phones to make calls for their demand. So that's another thing. That's even another way. Why can't they trace them, trace those phones easily? So yeah, there's no will for us to do this. So we have one hand up, and I know there are a couple of comments in the chat, but I don't know if this is for, I believe this is for Mr. Adetutu. Maybe Pastor Luke, can you check on him while we are waiting? Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that right away.
Okay. Professor Grange, is your question for him or is a comment? Go ahead, Ma. We've asked you to unmute. Okay.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. You know, you have really hit the nail on the head for us. As a developing country, we have a very important entry point to get into development, but somehow we are refusing to do so from what you have narrated. I just want to say that in the developed countries, what they have done is to unify, as you said, by using the social security number for anybody who has worked even for an hour in that country. They must have a social security number. And that seems to work very well for them. Having said that, I believe that we have to look at how we can bypass government in this development, because government has monetized everything, every form of development. You know, the fact that they are not able to get technology into their system is a deliberate thing. And I don't agree with you that it's not government that's not doing it. It's the administration. Because it's the administration, it is government. Having said that, I think we should look around at who can actually pick up this game-changing technology. And I want to ask, what is the situation in our institutions of higher learning? If many people can learn in those institutions, they can set up as CSOs, they can then carry the training down to grassroots level where it has to be before we can transform our development. You are talking of primary schools. The government is not going to put it in primary school. It is the civil societies and possibly the teachers in the institutions of higher learning that will take this down. Of course, it involves a little bit of, it involves some kind of changing our mindset as to what we are doing for free and what we do for money. And I believe that all this, we have to change it. If there is enough, competition, the private sector coming into it and developing it for us may be able to do it in an affordable way. So we should be looking at that way. And the government has failed. They've tried to do this thing the last 20 years, and they are not going in the way of doing it for us to enjoy and to stop them from being corrupt, because obviously it will stop corruption. So thank you. Let's look at the institutions of higher learning. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ma. Unfortunately, Dr. Ade Adetutu had to step away for a minute, but he'll be back with us shortly. And but I think that conversation you have around it being more of the private, it should be more private sector driven. And I think of people like Elon Musk and okay, he's in now. He has just entered the room, and how, you know, companies or organizations are the ones that are driving technology for improvement, I mean, for development in the first world countries. So that, I think that's a very good point that you have brought up. They haven't left it to the government to be the ones to drive the use of technology. Miss Dr. Adetutu is back in the room now. Okay. Welcome back, sir. You can.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we lost you there for a minute. So just a quick round of the question that came up, and I'll try to summarize. Then I'll ask Professor Grange to chime in what I may have left out. But basically, having the private sector drive technology more than the government. And I chimed in using Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and all the technology wonder of today, and the what's this guy's name from Microsoft? So just really talking about the role of the private sector in driving technology. So what do you say?
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, thank you. How could I forget his name? Okay, thank you. Yeah, so that was the question. And then she also talked about, Professor Grange, you also talked about having education that the government will not train those in elementary school, and that was the job of civil society organizations and the private sector. Okay, so maybe you can speak to that, sir.
Okay. I think I'm going to first start with the idea that the private sector runs the ecosystem of the national body. You see, in Nigeria we run a copycat technological ecosystem. So whatever is done in the Western world, we do the same. And what they have over there is the ecosystem is grown, developed, and sustained by the private players. And these guys deliberately stay away from government so that they won't be hindered with their innovation. You see, in Nigeria, everything we do is like exactly the way it's done over there. That's the kind of ecosystem we have in Nigeria. And the truth is, we cannot even compete with the kind of private-driven ecosystem they have over there, because at some point, this ecosystem that grew to what we are seeing at Silicon Valley, I once had government injection. Bill Gates got money from the government. Zuckerberg got money from the government. Elon Musk got money from the government. At some point, they were spurred into action via government intervention. Now, because we have exactly the same type of ecosystem, even the ecosystem leaders technically do not have clarity on what is missing or needed to spur innovation using the ecosystem, the ecosystem players localized in Nigeria. So what we've had so far as successful playing in our ecosystem technology is we know how to raise Series A funding, raise Series B funding, raise Series C funding. And when the funding is over, we sell out. The company is no longer ours. I have friends in industries. I have friends in this ecosystem that have built companies that have gone beyond $500 million. And when you see them today, I'll say, guy, what are your company now? You say, it still exists. But where are you? Yeah, still there here. They don't connect again. But when you sell and you sell out, you go back to being that normal person. And that's the reality we have. But we are surviving based on the way it works in the Western world, we have a private and a government gap in Nigeria. We've never really had a significant pumping of government funds into the technology architecture, in a significant one that will shake a particular inventor, a particular innovator in this country, like was done for Zuckerberg, done for Bill Gates, or done for Elon Musk.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I don't see any other hand up. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so there's a question in the chat from Yetunde Makodi. What strategies can Nigeria adopt to counter the spread of misinformation and perhaps hate speech online? Bad and wrong information travel far and very fast in Nigeria, and this goes a long way in shaping the community.
You see, the strategy is very simple, and it is called digital minimalism. It's called digital minimalism. You see, research has it. Pardon me, I can't really reference the research properly. A typical person, your brain has the capacity to detect fake information if it has sufficient rest from the digital interaction. The problem we've had so far is the level of digital overload, in which case your phone, the notification, they're always interacting. Even when you see fake news, you can identify it as fake news. I personally have people around me that when they tell me, have you seen that this is happening? You don't need to tell me too many times, I know that one is fake news. It can't be real news. And that person has forwarded it to his contact. I've already shared it to them. It's because we are digitally overloaded. If you have digital minimalistic approach to your device, where you have a clear, dedicated and methodical approach to the way you check your notification, so that when you pick up your phone, your brain is alert. So when they suddenly tell you something is happening in Ikorodu, you will know this is not possible. People don't figure out that the fact that you are not resting your brain and you are digitally overloaded is why you yourself will now start sharing a fake news with your contact. So the first thing is give yourself digital rest. Give yourself digital rest via digital minimalism. Once you successfully achieve that, the rest always fade away. Over time, there's a rule about fake news in the computing world, and we don't joke about it. We know no matter how potent they come out when they come out, they will always fade away. They cannot stand the test of time because originality will always fade them away over time. But digital minimalism will help you from being one of those that spread this fake news as an agent of fake news.
Thank you. Very good advice. We should give our brain a rest. I like that digital, what did you call it? Minimalization? Minimalism. Okay. Thank you. Digital minimalism. We should give our brain a rest. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions on the platform? I don't see any other hand up. Pastor Olu, are there any other hands up? I don't see your comments.
No hands up from my hand yet.
Okay, there's nothing. Okay, so there's another question here from Sir Charles. Question: the current government is committed to digital economy. What role is it playing to make sure there is a broader adoption of digital beyond the urban centers? That's question number one. Question number two: in a nation where there's so much unstable communication system, where people use several different phones, what is your consortium doing to make data less expensive?
Please repeat the questions, please.
Okay, so question number one: the current government is committed to digital economy. What role is it playing to make sure there is a broader adoption of digital beyond the urban centers? So maybe you want to take that, and then we'll take question two.
So I think there has been some partnerships. I think there was even a time when Mark Zuckerberg started testing some ideas of using drone-powered internet connection to rural communities. But the truth is, what you see as an infrastructural gap in technology is a reality everywhere. So don't let me make it as if it's a Nigerian problem. We have an urban grown technological architecture. Our rural environment at times don't even have sufficient internet connection to power what we do in the urban area. But Facebook, Zuckerberg have made an effort at solving this. And also there are technologies like Starlink, which works in rural areas. But the framework from the government, there is something going on now called 3MTT, where, and I also advise any young Nigeria that wants to jump into tech to jump on that program. That program is evolving very, very fast. 3MTT helps train people in the rural community. I think what we are starting with is the knowledge gap in the rural community. If they can fix that, then the infrastructure will follow. But currently, we do not have the sufficient infrastructure in the rural area to sustain what we do here in the urban community.
Thank you. So I'll take the second question. In a nation where there's so much unstable communication system, where people use several different phones, what is your consortium doing to make data less expensive?
Okay, you see, it's going to be very, very hard to blame the telcos because some of us, we have an idea of what they are going through. Nevertheless, we know the reality of the data practice in this country. For example, in this country, you pay for data, you don't get to use it. Or you are on the call. The call is, you can't hear the person, but they are deducting their airtime and they will not stop. But the problem they also have has to do with the infrastructure they have. You can see how hard it is for us to migrate completely to a 5G infrastructure. It's a function of, have they been able to reap the benefit of their investment? Now, I'm saying this because I know I have insight into what happened in the telecommunication community, and particularly through Artcon. And I don't want a situation where we make it look as if they don't know what they are doing completely. Nevertheless, bringing data down in a country where everything we use in technology is dollarized, it's going to be very, very hard. You know, because this is not even the era where we should expect that data will come down. And we have to be sincere with each other. We are not in an era where we should be expecting lesser pay for data. We are going to a time when data will be more expensive. You can see the slow migration of most of this agency through affordable to hard to pay for. You can see the way they are migrating us gradually. So the truth is, this is not a time to expect data will come down. Our organization, our Salt City Group, you see, the power we can give you is, what is the value you get from your data? If you can struggle to do 500 naira data in a day or 1,000 naira data in a day, what can you get out of that data that can multiply your joy, multiply your income, and sustain your happiness? That's what we can do. Apologies. We can put you through a learning curve, or how you can maximize your device, maximize your data, and be able to get value from what you have. That's what we can give to you. But I expect that in this time and age, you want cheaper data, sincerely, it's not the right time for that.
Thank you very much for your response. I don't see any other questions.
There's another question here. Let me quickly read it.
Please.
Dr. Adetutu, what efforts are tech scientists like you making to raise funds to manufacture some of these technological innovations like UAV, drone, CCTV, etc., mentioned by Jumoke, locally to save money? Somebody on the platform asked that question. So what are you guys doing to raise funds locally to produce all these things?
Okay, thank you very much. So far, you've mentioned an area of interest to us as a group, and these are the idea of area surveillance systems. That's actually where we decided to specialize as a group. Area surveillance systems. We believe the extent of cyber crime that we have in this country, if we don't have sufficient area surveillance system, we can't tap into. So what we've done is we've built partnership. For example, the American Aeronautic Association, we've just concluded our membership, and we are trying to train at first. You see, capacity engineering is one of the biggest gaps we have in terms of drone development or UAV adoption in this ecosystem. So for now, we are going to take the young Nigerians through a capacity engineering curve where they understand that as long as you are typing on your phone or data is flying from your phone to your PC, your airspace itself needs to be under surveillance. And we can do a lot using data sharing, data security, and guarantee data sovereignty using airborne air surveillance system. It's a long journey. It's not something that can happen overnight, but we are saddled with this responsibility, and we are sure we will get there.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other questions. Any other comments or questions, Pastor Lou, before we hand over to Mr. President for closing remarks?
No other questions from my end.
Yeah, and I just want to make a quick announcement, and this is for the diaspora community. Please note the time change. There's a 1 hour differential now. It remains 5 p.m. Nigerian time. We meet every Thursday, 5 p.m. Nigerian time. I know that has changed on the East Coast. It's now 11 a.m. And on the West Coast, Pacific time is now 8 a.m. In England, it is now 4 p.m. So we did send that out on the flyer, but there may have just been some confusion. So it remains 5 p.m. Nigerian time every Thursday. Same Zoom link, just a different topic. So thank you for making that note on your calendars. Thank you. Over to you, sir. Okay, while we're waiting for Mr. President, one more question or two more questions. Can you please educate us a bit on the primary methods hackers use to compromise smartphone? I think this is very important question we all need to know. The second one, how can cyber security awareness campaign be improved to reach rural and underprivileged areas? Do you want me to take it again?
No. I can answer that. All right. So first and foremost, you see, there's the first step any hacker would follow in any. Pardon me, I'm a certified ethical hacker myself. You see, the first step any hacker will follow is called footprinting and reconnaissance. Footprinting and reconnaissance, meaning a hacker will first go and check everything about you online. I want to know what you have posted online. Have you mistakenly posted your street number? Have you mistakenly posted your birth certificate? I want to go and read. It's called footprinting. I would go after you in terms of information science. I'm trying to understand everything about you. Now, I'm always of the opinion, if you don't compromise your content or your profile online, you've given a good hacker 50% chance of failure. So the first step I advise you is go on Facebook and read through your timeline. Go on LinkedIn or Twitter or X or anywhere and read through your timeline. Make sure you have your information that should be confidential, and those that are not confidential, not confidential, so that you can make it harder for anyone trying to get at you. And let me be very sincere with you. There is no 100% security anywhere. There is no 100% security anywhere. The highest any security infrastructure can give you is 99%. The remaining 1% is left to you, your conduct to your password, whether you use strong or weak password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not a secure password. When people send you a code, your code is your private property. The first thing you should ask is, where did this code come from? When you get a phone call from someone you don't know, the first question is, how did you get my number? You have the right to ask, because your data privacy rights give you every right to a confidential private number. If someone calls you without having your number online, they have every right, you have every right to ask, how did you get my number? If you don't give hackers the chance, they will not hack you.
Thank you very much. So, quick question, and this is where we're bringing the session to a close now. This has been very informative. So, as part of your closing remark, can you just tell us, if you were made the Minister of Technology today in Nigeria, what would you do?
You see, if I'm made the Minister of Technology in Nigeria, the first thing I'm going to do is I want to empower Nigerians. You see, technology is not a medal. I have always been of the opinion everybody should know how to use computing. Technology alone can fix your local economy. I have seen people out there looking for jobs. I have seen people looking out there looking for their daily bread. And I think in my head, like, this guy, do you know this phone that you managed to buy with 150,000 naira can solve all your problems if only you know what to do with it in the next 2 weeks. Now, the problem I identify in the technological ecosystem is the gap between the know-how and the manpower. I will fix this gap as a person. I will ensure that every Nigerian that can afford a mobile device, as long as you can invest in the cheapest form of local device, you will get maximum value. We have always advocated, what use is it to spend 200,000 on a phone, and all you do with the phone is phone call, SMS, email, nothing else? When that phone that costs you maybe 100,000 naira can make you 20,000 naira side hustle every month. For example, there are even some powerful phones that you can buy that can make you do more. So my job will be to fix the gap between the knowledge gap and the capacity, the human capital. So one can fix that gap, and all Nigerians know that computing should not be a profession of a few, but it should be a way of life for all. That's what I would do.
Is that your closing remark?
Oh, okay. So let me thank you very much. I didn't know it was time to give my closing remark. I want to especially thank the organizer of this event. It's been a great one. It's been a great honor to be able to interact with like minds. And I'm happy this is about our nation, Nigeria, because we all believe in this country. And I've always been one of those that tell Nigerian youth, just wait. God's time is always the best. God has a plan for us. We should all not abandon this country and completely jackpot. We can jackpot, but we should jackpot when the time is right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for showing up today. We quite appreciate your time and efforts put into today's meeting. I want to thank all the participants, all the people that are on the call today. I want to thank our president, our first vice president, Pastor Sonny, and our second vice president, Sister Joke Akintelo. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone on the call. We look forward to see you again on Thursday by God's grace. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. God bless.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. Olu, thanks.
So,
Thank you all for being here. Same time, same link next week, Thursday, 5 p.m. Nigerian time, whatever that time equates to where you are. I hope you will be able to join us and let's have another insightful discussion about Nigeria and how to make Nigeria great again. Bye, everyone.
Everyone, have a good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you.